press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Acting is a profession which requires a sheer will and dedication to the craft. And of course, actors need to properly study the characters to play them on screen. But some roles or characters are so challenging to play that actors go through a very difficult process and they choose to do it so that they could be able to do justice to that character. In Boys Don't Cry, Hilary Swank played real-life transgender man Brandon Teena, who was brutally raped and murdered in 1993. Kimberly Peirce, the director of the movie, asked Hilary to cut off all her hair and dye it dark brown. Swank went about her day-to-day life dressed as a man for roughly 1 month before shooting. And to look exactly like real-life Brandon Teena, she wrapped her breast in tension bandages and stuffed the front of her pants with socks. The actress was so convincing that her neighbors thought that she was her brother visiting from out of town. And after dedicating our last video completely to Heath Ledger, here we are again talking about him in this video.
And here we go.
To play one of the most iconic villain in The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger locked himself in a hotel room for a month, scribbling and making collages in a diary entitled The Joker. According to his father Kim, Heath did this in order to galvanize the upcoming character in his own mind. While Heath Ledger was known for getting into the skin of the characters for all of his roles, his father claimed that this was a whole new level.
Certainly immerse himself in the upcoming character. And I think this was just a whole new level.
Last week I probably slept an average of 2 hours a night, Ledger told in an interview with the New York Times while he was in the middle of filming. I couldn't stop thinking, my body was exhausted and my mind was still going. Though it can't be said confidently, but many believe that this psychologically exhausting role is what ultimately led to Ledger's own psychological downfall and ultimately his death in an early age. Who didn't applaud for Leonardo DiCaprio when he finally won Oscar for his remarkable role as Hugh Glass in the movie Revenant? But he had to go through hell to prepare for that role, like he had to emulate a life in the wild to adapt to that atmosphere. The vegetarian actor, who is an environmentalist and care a lot about animals, ate raw bison liver, climbed into the carcass of a horse, and waded through a freezing cold river in order to toughen himself against the elements.
I ain't afraid to die anymore.
Adrien Brody played the role of a Polish-born concert pianist who lived through the horrors of the Warsaw Ghetto. Brody really went to great lengths to play that role on screen. Brody started by deciding to completely abandon his life in America. The actor sold his house and his car, moved to Europe, and that wasn't enough. So he starved himself in order to achieve the thin appearance of a Holocaust survivor. He lost 30 pounds in 6 weeks. With the little energy he had left, Brody was attending rehearsals, dialect classes, and practicing piano 4 hours a day in order to master the pieces featured on the film. Scott Glenn surely had a tough time preparing for his role as FBI agent Jack Crawford in The Silence of the Lambs. He met with John E. Douglas, a former special agent and FBI unit chief, after whom the role was created. The actor was exposed to an audio tape that was recorded by 2 serial killers while they raped and murdered a 16-year-old girl. He was so haunted by what he heard that he kept on crying while listening to the whole recording. And he was so much terrified with the role itself that he refused to be in the film sequel.